Welcome to Carolina Sculpture Studio. My name's Clint Button, and I'm a granite sculptor. Welcome to video number 140 of the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. It's hard to believe how this keeps progressing and how it moves forward. And you get between the flu and being out of town to chase stone and working on quotes and doing all this other stuff. I thought about it leading into it. I think, I gotta do something special because the anniversary's coming up in 2 years doing this apprenticeship series. And that day came and went 100 miles an hour. And it's not like a wedding anniversary that you got to remember. It's whether it's important, whether it's not, it really doesn't matter. These videos are just these videos. It is a matter of continuing to work on a project, even if it seems like it's mundane, if it seems like it's overwhelming, if it seems like you bit off more than you can chew. You got to keep working on it, and you got to make it happen. And that's, carving stone is about the war of attrition, and whether you win or the stone wins. So we're up to video number 140, and we're about a year and a week into a year and a week today exactly is 2 years and 1 week exactly today. And to me, that's really cool, So I'm just gonna keep doing more of the same here. Now, it's nice because we got a cloudy day. The last few days have been really pretty, really bright, and because this face is facing the door, boy, the ambient light from outside really makes it hard to see because it totally overwhelms my lamp. I don't know that I can show this because of the way the camera compensates for the light. Whether you can look and see, it looks like you can see on the camera that there's some stripes here, okay? Those are what I talked about earlier, where I'll skip down and I'll do a strip at a time and take it off, and it'll tend to, it isn't really corduroy, it's not as much as some things that you'll do, but it does leave a surface that needs to be fixed. And that's why, like I said, I'm going to take this down. I've got a little bit of crown here in the middle, and this is the high part. This is the low part. And so because of that, I've got to clean this off when I do my final axe, and I'll take my wide chisels, my wide scrapers, and I'll do a full axe one side to the other, and I'll spend more time focusing because I've still got a lot to clean up here. And it doesn't make sense to go crazy getting it perfect on your first pass. You can, and there's a mindset with some of the old men that you cut it once, you never touch it again. Yeah, that's great, but a lot of, you got to remember the context, okay? Years ago, you would tend to have, if you were an operation of any significant capacity, you might have 2 or 3 people that specialized. One person did this, one person did the clay and the plaster, somebody else did the carving from the clay, the plaster, and then somebody else would come in and finish it. You may have somebody that does some floral work or hair, hands, because that's their specialty. When they say cut it once and be done with it, they don't get a chance to revisit it. When this stone leaves their bankers, their station, they're done with it. So they've got to just rip this off, and that's the only thing that concerns them. I'm that person in every station here. I have to do all of it. And so I've got to make this all come together globally. And so I've got a little different position in terms of, I got some different leeway, different decisions to make as to how perfect I want to take it, because I'm trying to do all these different things well. and I know how this will turn out the best. This is very close to really, this is pretty nice right here. It isn't perfect, but once I go through and do my final acts, I can clean up all of these low spots. Like I said, you know, it may even be necessary for me to turn the stone around. I could turn the stone facing the other direction and have perfect control of my light. That may be what I need to do. So, but at the end, but for now, I'm going to spend today, see if I can wrap this up, and then I'll go through and I'll address this whole side at once, and it should make it a really nice stone. So let's cut some stone. As I'm working this, I wanted to show you something. Okay, thin deal, got a strip it off. Okay, remember I said I didn't want a big fat bevel over here? Okay, right now, this is about 1/4 inch, okay? And that's too big for a finished bevel. That'll look like I'm just kind of, like I missed the boat. But, and this is down some too. This is the lower edge compared to the front edge. Got to pull the front edge down to make sure this is all nice and true. But I also have to axe this back. And by the time I axe this and axe this, I'm probably going to lose, I don't know if I'll lose a 16th, I'll lose at least a 32nd off of each side of this, and that'll shrink that a fair amount. And by the time that's evened up, this is all axed and this is all axed. That should be a pretty nice bevel that'll be a lot smaller than it is right now. Okay, so don't get too stressed about it if you've tipped it, you know, and if you tipped it too much, you've tipped it too much. There's only certain things you can fix. But we still have to do a fair amount of work on this face. So have to axe this entire face, and what you'll find is that axing this saw skin, well, I was talking about how the skin is hard and it's hard to break through, and you'll work on that and work on that and work on that with your scraper. See if I just hold on. If you'll go back and forth on this, and by the time you disrupt this smooth surface enough to where the chisel will actually bite and then start taking it off, you'll be surprised at the dimension you lose off here, because it's easy to lose 1/8 of an inch off this face. And if you lose 1/8 and come down into this 1/8, that's going to take away, you know, if you look at it straight from the side here, if we take 1/8 of an inch, that's going to make that just barely. There's not going to be much bevel on there at all. So, and this is what comes with experience. I can't tell you everything. You have to do some of it, but this is why you don't cut an edge. You bevel up to it, you bevel up to it, you reduce to it, you reduce to it, and you create that edge. The most important thing is that this is straight and that this is straight. And by having the two things straight and square, it will create that nice edge. That's how we do all that finishing work with all those miters and corners and everything, is you reduce and you leave the corner, and then you have a nice secure corner. And if you've got flat face and flat face, where they meet, it will be straight. That's just a function of the actual physical form. So just don't get ahead of yourself and think this is beveled too much. If you've beveled it like I have, I've got it beveled like that for a reason. Get this finished, get this finished, and that bevel will be just great. All right, back to cut. The subject came up with someone that I was talking with on email, and they were excited because they had put a weight on their suction. They're using suction, like I told you to, which is great, and they had a weight hanging, which the weight they had, it looks like one off an old like beam scale, you know, Fairbanks or whatever. I got one in the other room. And I told them the important thing, it's great to have the weight and whatever, but it was really important to pad it, okay? What's typical with, this is my weight, what's typical with in the shed is to take an all worn out hand machine that's like totally buggered. You're never going to be able to fix it, use it, rebuild it, whatever, it's junk. and that's your weight. This one I put a pipe plug in the end, a square pipe plug. I don't know if we can get this where you can see it. Just a square pipe plug, and I drilled a hole and put a little loop through it so I could hang a cord on it. Just got some mule tape, whatever, and then it can hang. But now if it bumps, it's probably not going to break something as easily if it's just a plain bare metal weight. Really good to have a weight, but padded up. This has just got a bunch of, I don't even know what it is, some old rag and foam or whatever, and wrapped up in duct tape. And this is what I'll hang. And I expect as I get working on this stone and in different positions, in order to have my suction where I want it, I'll use this. You'll probably see it. But just happened to look over and it was sitting right there, and I thought, yeah, I need to show this because I mentioned it in discussions with someone was, excited that they had got their weight. But this is what you need, and you got to put a pad on it, okay? So it doesn't matter if it's, what kind of weight it is, just that it's dense and heavy. But you want to ensure that if it bumps against your stone as you're moving it around, because it will. At some point, it'll bump something. And you want it to be padded so that you got a little more security, even if you're careful. Because I know you're not meaning to break your stone on purpose, but your weight will, okay? Back to cut. As I'm getting into this, I wanted to I'm not into Zen, feng shui, all this different stuff. I've got my beliefs, and I'm pretty set in them. But you've got to understand, you're going to have mundane work to do. If you do, especially if you do big stone. Now, little stuff, you do it, and you work on it for a short period of time, and it's done because it's small. And there's only about so many tool strokes you're going to employ on that project. Big projects, this stone's got a lot of panel work, got a lot of action on it, tons of scraping, okay? You can look at it and bemoan it and think of it as drudgery, think of it as how difficult and whatever, glass half empty, glass half full. Or you can look at it and say, you know what, this is great. I got a chance to practice. I got a chance to practice making this surface smooth. I got a chance to practice making this surface flat. I got a chance to practice developing an edge. Doing this whole big long edge without having a chip or a blowout, that's success, man. And everything you do, one success builds upon another, because this is all foundational to the bigger job. So don't get too wore out, bummed out, whatever, because man, this is drudgery. I was really excited because I thought I cut this pretty well. You turn it 90 degrees and light it different, you can see the little variations of what I did that I could have done better. Now I'm over here doing this, and my goal is this perpetual one-upsmanship, that I want to make everything I cut today, make what I cut last time look like crap, because I want to get better. And the better I get, the better I get, and the better I get, the faster I get, and it all builds and builds and builds. So this is really boring work, but the more I do it, the faster it goes, and it's an accomplishment. And there's always, I don't know, I love getting past the halfway point, because then I can see the end in sight, and I love working on it. But just understand that you need to be able to do a lot of things that aren't fun, and just be patient about it and just keep working on it. And you can find a lot of fulfillment. I won't necessarily say joy. I'm not going to be turning handsprings out in the yard because I axe this panel perfect. But when I get this whole thing axed, I'm going to be probably at least as excited about all this finishing work on this job without mistakes, accurately placed and everything, than doing a figure, or if I bend a line a little bit, or I sneak her knee over to the right a quarter inch, or whatever to make it look better or different or animated, you can play with that with figurative stuff and curves and floor work when you're bending. You got all these leaves and stuff. You can't fake this stuff. You can do this good. The rest of the stuff will come together, even if you've got a limited artistic ability. Okay, you may find that you can't make that angel or whatever you want to carve. You may find you need to have somebody else make that model and then point it. Get a point machine, cast it, and point it. And it will teach you about the anatomy and the form and everything. And then you can feel like you succeeded. Even if you didn't do the model, you can succeed as a carver. And it's important to understand that if we've all got limits, there's limits of what we can do. I can't draw. I'm sure if I practice enough, I probably could. My wife says I'd be horrible at oil painting because I don't commit. You can change it just a little bit, just keep changing it forever. Versus stone, where you can't change it. You got to live with it. And so find the things that you're good at and realize that there are limits, but enjoy. Find joy where you can. Find fulfillment where you can. And because this will be really awesome when you look at all this perfect grit. Okay. It's just cool. All right. Enough with the hippy trippy stuff. Back to stuff. One thing I will recommend, this is something you learn as you get older anyways, because you don't want to get hurt. Slow down. When you stand up, when you turn around, when you move, I work in really tight quarters here by the time I got my bench and my tools and the stone, and I've got, a cord from the extension cord to power my power strip. I've got a cord from the lamp. I've got a cord from 1 or 2 saws that are kicking around. I've got hoses on the ground. I've got stuff overhead that swings and moves, and lamps and stuff that's over my shoulder. If I jump up, I'm probably going to bust my butt, and I can't fall over and get hurt. I really can't fall over and cause the stone to fall over and get damaged or land on top of me, and that's a very real possibility. So learn to slow down as you move, and move more determinately. Don't just jump up and say, man, I'm tired, I want to get up and I'm going to get out of here, and you get up and move, and all of a sudden you realize that you've got a foot through that loop in the floor, and buddy, you're going down. So slow down and be careful. Okay, just wanted to say that. All right. I've told everybody to go back and start at the beginning to watch these videos so that I don't have to answer questions about things that I've already covered. Lots of times I've covered it more than once. But I'm going to go ahead and show you again how I'll take a piece of this down. I'll do it in real time, just one take. I'll show you the tools I'm going to use, and show you how I strip this off. Try to get a good camera angle so you can see everything, and we'll see how it turns out. So, but I'm really serious when I tell you to go back and start at the beginning and watch everything. If you're just finding these videos, great. Glad to have you here. Glad you're looking, but don't ask me a bunch of questions until you've watched everything, because I've probably covered the vast majority of what you're going to ask. All right. So, but this is how I'll lower this piece with a 9-point, a 2-blade, and a couple straight chisels. Big straight. All right. Stay tuned. This is a 3/4 inch machine, just a 3/4 inch full stroke, and a 3/4 D. All right, that's how I'm doing this whole side. Okay, and I don't think I've said this yet on this video, because I did one take of this and it didn't show the tools as well as I wanted, so I don't want to repeat myself. I want to make sure I say it. As you're working this, it's important. I'd already knocked this back. Remember back earlier when this side there was a lot of material on here. In some areas it was pretty short, in some areas it was pretty tall. By putting this together in this way, to where I've already roughed it into shape and I've gotten rid of the bulk, now I've got a consistent amount of material to remove. That means that I can, I don't want to say relax because that's the wrong word. That means that I know what I've got to remove now. Because if I've got something that does this big transition and I go from taking an inch off and it drops right off, and the next spot I've only got to take off a 1/4 inch. If I cut that inch off and I've still got my muscle memory going and I'm going to end up cutting too deep somewhere. Okay? By having this down to where I've got about barely a 1/4 inch to take off on this whole face, I can pay attention to take it off a small amount and have a consistent task to perform, instead of having a brand new task that I have to think through every time. So this will give me a better result. And we're basically doing this face in stages, because we took the rough, we cut the rough down, we got it pretty close to even. Now we're taking that even down in the initial acts, the initial development of this panel, get it nice. And then we're going to go through at the end with some really nice scrapers and whatever, and we're going to make this panel great, okay? This will help you do better work without having a brain fart and all of a sudden you went way too deep and now you wish you hadn't. It's just a safe way to work, it's smart to work. And so this will be good, and we'll coming good. It's looking great. That's how I do it. Go back and watch earlier videos, squaring it off, all these other stuff. There's lots of videos and lots of content. But I wanted to show you some actual, real time, how long it took me to do, like 8 minutes to do just that one little thing. So if I've got to do 2, 3, 4, 5 more, then there's another roughly 45 minutes, 45 minutes, and I have this whole side cleaned off. Okay. That's it. And no kidding, it's like 45 minutes, not quite 50 minutes. And that's put together. Now, it's not finished. Still got with that bottom straight. Not a lot of crown left in it. There's still just a little bit up through here. So I'll pull this down, get all this evened up, get that nice. By the time we straighten that top out, it'll be great. Well, so you do the side, man. All right. Put this round back on there. Something I don't want to do right now is define this line down here at the very bottom where the plinth is, right here. Because if I check a line there and create a stress riser, provide a way somewhere for it to break, it'll break. Right now, the smartest thing to do is to leave that with a little bit of a radius. We'll put a nice line on there at the very end. Not now. This is a long time to do that. But you're still going to cut off over here to the side, because this is only going to be, out about an inch. So we'll just keep working. that'll wrap up video number 141. I know I said 140 a couple times. It's hard to keep track. My name's Clint Button. I'm a granite sculptor here at Carolina Sculptor Studio with the Virtual Stone Carving Apprenticeship. Thanks for coming in.